Hannity. All right, Hurricane Ian is now strengthening in the Caribbean as it now nears the Florida coast. We'll have the very latest updates. That's straight ahead tonight. And crime in Democratic cities and towns is going from bad to worse. Look at your screen. You just heard Tucker, the Philadelphia Wawa ransacked, 100 people. We'll show you the full tape in the aftermath. And for Pennsylvania Senate candidate John Fetterman, his struggles are now getting downright disturbing. Here's just a small sample from over the weekend. Take a look.
The Eagles are so much better than the Eagles.
I think he meant the Steelers. I'm just guessing. Now, tonight we have learned actor Alec Baldwin is now facing the real threat of criminal charges and an indictment. The latest developments coming up. But first, tonight, Democrats are more desperate, 43 days away from this election than ever, to distract from Joe Biden's failures as their midterm warning signs, they are flashing brighter and brighter hour after hour. Americans of all walks of life, they are increasingly rejecting the destructive Democratic socialist agenda. Americans are rejecting their radical open borders ideology. They are rejecting their extreme Green New Deal socialism, their false utopia, their climate alarmist religious cult, and all that agenda entails. Americans in record numbers are rejecting this defund, dismantle, no cash bail that they've adopted. The coddling of criminals, it's a disaster. Americans are rejecting their student loan bailout. They're rejecting their reckless spending and out-of-control 41-year high inflation lunacy, all preventable. They are rejecting their never-ending obsession with all things January 6 and Donald Trump and the politics of personal destruction. And that is the reason why tonight Democrats are desperate to demonize, slander, smear, besmirch any Republican at all costs and try and hide their own extremism on abortion, on borders, on energy. And by the way, they are imploding in terms of popularity with the American people. So we'll start tonight. Let me ask you a very simple, basic, fundamental question, similar to the question Ronald Reagan asked in 1984 for re-election. Are you better off than you were 4 years ago? Are you better off now than you were before Joe Biden took office? It's that simple. Are you better off under rising inflation? Are you better off under rising crime? Are you better off under rising gas prices? Are you better off under your sinking 401ks and IRAs? Is there one single thing that Joe Biden has done to make your life better, your family's life better? Can you name a single thing? If this midterm election is a referendum on Joe Biden, the Democrats, they are doomed. But don't take my word for it. Listen to Circle Back Jen Psaki yesterday.
I think that Democrats, if the election is about who is the most extreme, as we saw, Kevin McCarthy touch on there with Marjorie Taylor Greene, I'll say her name, sitting over his left side, then they're going to win. If it is a referendum on the president, they will lose, and they know that. They also know that crime is a huge vulnerability for Democrats. I would say one of the biggest vulnerabilities.
If it is a referendum on the president, they will lose. Jen Psaki said that. And, of course, Biden's failures are the reason that Democrats continue to double down on their left-wing smear tactics, their baseless attacks against conservatives all across the country, because that's all they've got. They have done nothing to improve the lives of the American people, frankly, just the opposite. These policies, this socialism, New Green Dealism, it is crushing the American people, the poor, the working class, especially them and people on fixed incomes. Here's Hillary Clinton actually comparing Trump supporters to Nazis. She's certainly not celebrating any legislative success or policy success of Joe Biden. Take a look.
I remember as a young student, trying to figure out how did people get basically drawn in by Hitler. How did that happen? And I'd watch newsreels and I'd see this guy standing up there ranting and raving and people shouting and raising their arms. I thought, what's happened to these people? Why did they believe that? You saw the rally in Ohio the other night. Trump is there ranting and raving for more than an hour, and you have these rows of young men with their arms raised. I thought, what is going on?
Irredeemable deplorables, bitter Americans clinging to their God, guns, Bibles, and religion. The smelly Walmart shoppers that vote for Trump. But it's just like I've been telling you. Democrats cannot run on their failed record. They can't run on any accomplishments. So instead, they go all in on the same things pretty much every day. MAGA Republicans, Donald Trump, all while the American people continue to be clobbered by their policies. Inflation. Look at this. According to the Heritage Foundation, the average American household is now paying $7,200 more per year since Joe Biden became your president. Add that to violent crime that is now plaguing Democratic-run cities from coast to coast, setting one record after another. Don't buy any of this, Democratic election year conversion on crime and violence. Crime is getting worse. And yes, it was Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and Democratic socialists. They're the ones to blame. For example, look at your screen. Over the weekend, Philadelphia area, Wawa, police say about 100 juveniles ransacked the place, damaging the store, stealing numerous items in just the latest display of absolute lawlessness. What happened to any of them? Nothing. In New York City, we're seeing more devastating effects of their soft pro-criminal prosecutors like Alvin Bragg. We're also learning tonight that a man accused of raping his teenage relative secured a sweetheart plea deal from Bragg and then allegedly sexually assaulted 5 more people 1 month later. This is what a pro-criminal agenda looks like. Coddling criminals, turning villains into victims and victims into villains. Under Democratic rule, hardworking American families all across the country see crime rising to record numbers, costs are up, quality of life down, and we have shown you the tragic stories in one city after another. But the Biden White House, they won't even give a straight answer on whether Biden thinks that American cities are safe, because they know it's their own policies that are fueling the crime surge in city after city. But the good news is this. House Republicans, led by Kevin McCarthy, he outlined all of this on Friday right here on this show. They are pushing back, not just with attacking Democrats, they are putting their stated promises and commitments in writing, and they'll all sign it, unveiling their commitments to America agenda. In other words, offering real solutions to undo the damage that has been done in 20 months by this destructive Democratic Socialist Party. Look at your screen. The agenda is divided into 4 major categories: an economy that is strong, a nation that is safe, a future that is built on freedom, and a government that is accountable. So what does it all mean? It means fixing inflation, stopping the reckless spending, securing Biden's broken border, ending our dependence on China for supply chains, products, restoring American energy independence. I would add we should become energy dominant, stopping the flow of fentanyl and opioids pouring into our country, bolstering parental rights in school. Yeah, parents actually have a say in their kids' education. Choice in education should come back, and restoring security and safety so people can pursue happiness in every town and every city all across this country. Now, these are the issues at the top of voters' minds. Look at key states like Pennsylvania, Ohio, Wisconsin, Nevada, Florida, Georgia. In 43 days, you will get the final say. That's tonight. Here with reaction, Georgia Senate candidate Herschel Walker, now leading in the polls in Georgia. Herschel, good to see you. Your opponent, Raphael Warnock, is a radical. Your opponent, Raphael Warnock, what percentage of the time does he vote with Joe Biden?
Well, he votes 96% of the time with Joe Biden. So I didn't want you to get this wrong, that it's just Joe Biden. No, it's the people that running on the Democratic side as well, because they voted right along with him. And if that's what you want, they're going to give you more of it. And right now, they're trying to pretend that they are something better. Right now, my opponent don't want to campaign with Joe Biden, but he's cut from the same cloth as Joe Biden. He believes in no cash bail, that you're going to have these criminals running the streets, doing what they're doing, breaking into stores. He have demonized our police department. So he goes right along with Joe Biden. So let's not get it wrong that people we're running against voted for exactly the same thing.
All right, this is a guy that you're running against that is in the Senate. He supports court packing. He supports no cash bail, even for, violent criminals. This guy was part of the defund the police movement. He referred to police officers as having a gangster and thug mentality. What else have we learned about Raphael Warnock in the course of your campaign?
Well, he also believes in open borders. Right now, fentanyl is coming into this country. They found almost 10 tons of fentanyl in this country that can kill American 13 times over, all American 13 times over. That's what Raphael Warnock voted for. He wanted to see open borders. He also voted to put men in women's sports. You know, men should not be in women's sports, and they trying to now pretend that that's not what they said. They don't want you to believe your lying eyes, don't believe your lying ears. Now they're trying to reverse it, and they don't want to be around Joe Biden. Well, you cut from the same cloth. Let's not don't run away now. I think, as Maya Angelou said, when they show you who they are, believe them.
Okay, so he supports open borders. He wants to eliminate fossil fuels. He supports critical race theory. He said about the opioid crisis, it's only a public health emergency because the faces of human tragedy are white and suburban. He co-sponsored the Democratic abortion on demand bill without any limits. In other words, he supports abortion up to what? An hour before you give birth? Isn't that called infanticide?
Well, not only that, Sean, let's say this. If a baby survived an abortion, he voted not to give the baby medical care. So if you're going to say radical, that is very radical, and he's a pastor. And that's the reason I decided to run. That's why I'm going to encourage everybody out there, if you got friends, tell them to go to teamherschel.com. Whatever you can do, it is time for us to change this country around, and the only way we can do it is for people to get out and vote. Right now, what they're doing to this country is a shame, and they're trying to pretend they're calling names because they got nothing to run on. They got absolutely nothing to run on but name calling.
So he supports Louis Farrakhan, Jeremiah Wright, he's praised, and Fidel Castro. That's like the trifecta of some of the worst people that I can think of.
Well, one of the things he's going to tell you is, well, I was at the church and I had nothing to do with it. No, you were a part of it. You were a part of it, and don't run now. Just the same as don't run from Biden because you're cut from that exact same cloth. And I've called him a wolf in sheep's clothing. I'm just excited that on October the 14th, he's going to debate me so people can stop asking me whether I want to debate him because he was running from me, but he didn't realize I can catch it. And I called him, and now he's going to debate me October the 14th in Savannah, Georgia.
A little too late in the process, like most Democrats. Karine Jean-Pierre made this comments about the Atlanta Braves. You have Stacey Abrams, by the way, who said that it's the worst state to ever be in the United States. Why she'd ever want to be the governor, I don't know. She cost the state a fortune by losing the MLB All-Star game. And here's what Karine Jean-Pierre said earlier today. Take a look.
President hosting the Atlanta Braves today. Wondering if you or the president has any thoughts about some of the controversial about the team name, the Braves name, the so-called tomahawk chop. Any thoughts on that?
So, look, we believe that it's important to have this conversation. We should listen to Native American and indigenous people who are the most impacted by this.
Your reaction?
Well, my reaction is, Sean, and I'm gonna say this like this. I want to ask Senator Warnock, and he need to come out and say, do he believe they should change the name? Well, I don't, because you know what's so funny? I've asked some Native American, and they were okay with it. That's one of the problems we have is most of the people on the left don't talk to the people that put them in office, that they represent. All they're doing is making decisions, and they're coming back later knowing that they made the wrong decision and they're trying to change it. But I want people to know right now, the right way is to vote for Herschel Walker, to vote for people that believes in America, believes in the Constitution, believes in lower taxes, believe in protecting the border, protecting your kids, because they're doing everything against this country, but yet they're saying that you're the fault. No, they're at fault because they will not show you who they are because they're hiding behind all the, as I said, a wolf in sheep's clothing.
Wow. Last thing he said, Americans must repent for backing Trump and the worship of whiteness, and said in a sermon, Americans cannot serve God and serve in the U.S. military. Herschel Walker, I can't wait for that debate. I'm sure a lot of that will come up during that debate. Thank you for being with us. All right. Also tonight, Florida authorities, as we said, they are preparing residents for the expected arrival of Hurricane Ian, with the storm now expected to strike Florida, the Gulf Coast, the middle of this week. Here at the very latest reaction to all of tonight's big breaking news, Florida Senator Marco Rubio. Senator, first, this looks like it's going to be pretty severe. I understand there's evacuations now going on in and around the Tampa area. What's the latest that you're hearing, and what is the preparedness that's going on now behind the scenes?
Well, the good news is that Florida has a lot of experience doing this. Unfortunately, I say that because we've had a lot of storms. But a few years ago, Sean, I went to the National Hurricane Center, and I remember asking them, what would be the worst possible storm that you can imagine hitting our state? And they described basically what we're facing right now, which is a powerful hurricane that sort of stalls off the coast, doesn't even have to make landfall over Florida, just stalls off the coast and pushes a bunch of water into the Tampa Bay region and into the western part of the state. We're talking about 5 to 10 foot storm surge, which are not survivable. You know, you can shelter a little bit against the wind, you can hunker down in place, but you cannot shelter against water. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 foot storm surges, when it gets that high, you can't survive it. The only way to avoid dying in that is to leave when they tell you to leave. And they're not just arbitrarily telling you to leave. It's based, they know the areas that are most vulnerable to this. So if they're telling you to leave, it's because it's going to take time to get you to go. So I hope people are listening to that and will follow those orders, because this is a life-threatening thing. There's no way to ride that out. And that's what we're facing now, though, potentially the worst-case scenario in terms of storm surge.
So you're telling people, and I know a lot of people believe in liberty and freedom, and they don't like to be told what to do, and they don't want to leave their house, and it's inconvenient. I would ask our listeners to err on the side of caution, protect yourself, protect your family, take it seriously, and the worst case scenario is you took a drive that you didn't need to take. Let me get to your election. You're being supported by law enforcement in the state of Florida because of your great work as senator, and even though Val Demings, your opponent, claims to have the support of law enforcement, she doesn't.
Val Demings would be the most liberal senator Florida's ever had. She has extreme positions on every issue. She votes with Pelosi 100% of the time, which is why Schumer wants her in the Senate. She was a police officer, and then she went to Washington and basically turned her back on the police department. It actually makes it worse, because she actually knows better. She knows better, but she wanted to be picked as the vice president of a party that's been overtaken by Marxist misfits and radical leftists. And so when she was trying to become popular with the left so that they would maybe choose her to be Biden's vice president, she turned her back on police officers. In fact, voted for bills that allow us to, would allow you be able to sue police officers individually and the like. And so it's, yeah, I mean, you know, almost every sheriff in Florida, we have 66 elected sheriffs, 57 of them have endorsed my campaign because they saw that. They know her record in Congress. She doesn't even like to tell people she's been in Congress for 6 years. She goes around calling herself Chief Demings instead of Congresswoman Demings because she's never gotten anything done, and she's voted wrong and against Florida's interests and against common sense and on behalf of the radical left 100% of the time.
You know, I'm finding that in a lot of these races, you see it in Ron Johnson's race, you see it in J.D. Vance's race, you see it in Oz's race, you see it in Herschel Walker's race. It is the biggest choice election ever. So what is her vision versus your vision, so the people of Florida can be very clear when they go in the voting booth, when they cast their vote?
Well, her vision is whatever they tell her vision needs to be on the far left. She's going to vote with them 100% of the time. And what vision is that? It's a vision that will destroy this country. It's voting in favor of allowing schools and forcing schools to push and try to indoctrinate children and turn boys into girls. It's the theory of allowing the country to be overrun. Our border is not even immigration. This is a mass migration catastrophe. It's that vision. And then, you know, if anybody criticizes you, you either criminalize political opposition or you call people racists or fascists or whatever ists they can come up with. That's their vision. That's what she's done in her time in the House. That's what she's voted for. That's what she'll vote for if she gets in the Senate. And so they're, you know, one vote away in the Senate, by the way, from passing anything they want. They'll get rid of the filibuster. They'll pack the Supreme Court. They'll take over elections from the federal level. They'll spend $4 trillion, not just $800 billion. They'll destroy America if we don't stop them.
You know, Senator, with your race, like so many of these Senate races, are so critical. If Republicans can get the House and the Senate, it would literally stop right in its tracks this radical socialist agenda. And if we win in 2024, we can get America back on track completely. We appreciate you being with us, and this is an important race for the people in Florida. Thank you. All right, coming up, John Fetterman is struggling mightily on the campaign trail, and he's now trying to run away from pretty much every radical position he's ever taken. Kellyanne Conway will analyze that. And Gavin Newsom, so desperately tasting the White House, the Oval Office, wants to be president, took a shot at primetime Fox over the weekend. We'll show you what he said, and we'll respond straight ahead. And tonight, Pennsylvania Democratic Senate candidate, the trust fund brat with tattoos and a hoodie, John Fetterman, never worked a day in his life, continued his campaign trail struggles with a rally in Philly over the weekend. Take a look at how that went.
The Eagles are so much better than the Eagles. No.
I think he meant the Steelers, Pittsburgh team. Anyway, despite his obvious cognitive struggles, and they are mighty, by the way, he only gives a speech maximum 15 minutes, someone on Fetterman's team has finally realized that his stance on widespread drug legalization and safe injection sites for heroin paid for by taxpayers may be a little too extreme for Pennsylvania voters. As you see on your screen, his campaign is now trying to walk it all back, but his past statements, they speak for themselves. Here's a reminder.
Just like, wait a second, what are you talking about? Like, you want to legalize heroin, and why are you talking, why do you care about these things? I think it's important that we as a society have all the options on the table, including needle exchange, which is only technically legal in Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, and even safe injection sites that are being considered, like, say, in Philadelphia.
And by the way, he's also walking back, let's see, his extreme positions on fracking. He wanted a moratorium. His affinity for the Crips. Yep, that's a street gang that he supported when he was running for mayor. Here now with reaction, former senior counselor to President Trump, Kellyanne Conway. Kellyanne, let me just read the quick list here. He doesn't want any restrictions at all on abortion. This is a guy that chased an innocent African-American jogger and stuck a shotgun in his face. The guy did nothing wrong. I told you he's a trust fund brat. He never worked a day in his life, and it ends up he buys a home from his sister for $1, then owns 6 homes, wants to raise taxes on people. Then we find out he doesn't pay any taxes himself. We know that he wants to release at least a third of all criminals in Pennsylvania, voted repeatedly to free on the Pardon and Parole Board convicted murderers, won't release his health records. We know he's sick. On top of that, wanted to literally prosecute oil companies and grocery store CEOs, and supports the taxpayer-funded safe haven injection sites, and he supports BLM. I really can't think of anybody that extreme running for any position, especially for the U.S. Senate.
That's correct. Sean, we are a country of about 322 million Americans. To think that John Fetterman can be one of 100 U.S. senators representing us is a very frightening thing. Pennsylvania, this has nothing to do with party politics. Put your party aside for a moment and listen to the following. In addition to what Sean Hannity just laid out, violent crime is up statewide 325% since John Fetterman has been lieutenant governor. Not only has he not shown up, worked a day in his life, Sean, he hasn't worked a day as lieutenant governor. He put the marijuana flag up. He thought that was funny. He's trolling his opponent. He thinks that's funny. Here's what's not funny, that there's been a doubling of overdose deaths in Pennsylvania while he's been in office from 2015 to 2021. Fentanyl is rankling every corner of the state. Fracking, if he said fracking was a stain on the state of Pennsylvania. If you took away fracking, if John Fetterman had his way and you banned fracking, it would cost over 600,000 Pennsylvania jobs and over $261 billion roughly out of the economy. So even independents who may say, well, I might just vote Republican, I might vote Democrat, I don't know. The choice could not be more stark. There's not a more dangerous dilettante running anywhere in this country, this time for statewide office. And may I just say, just like with Joe Biden, Sean, we can see very obviously the physical and mental deficits. Obviously, this guy has suffered a stroke. I wish him well. I hope he makes a full recovery. But has he? That's the big question. He has something coming out of his neck the size of me. We all have a right to know what that is. Dr. Oz has released his medical records. The people of Pennsylvania have a right to see John Fetterman's full medical records and his prognosis moving forward. And last point, as a diehard, dyed-in-green Philadelphia Eagles fan, I'm offended that my undefeated 3-0 Eagles were compared to the Pittsburgh Steelers. So that alone should cost him a lot of votes in southeastern Pennsylvania.
I don't think the people of Pittsburgh will be too happy that he mentioned the Eagles twice, didn't mention that other team, the Pittsburgh Steelers. I look at this, it's sort of like he's got this act that he's been able to pull off. He looks like a working guy, got the tattoos, he's got the hoodie, he's a common guy, but he's anything but that. You know, how do soccer moms feel in Pennsylvania about that guy wanting to release a third of all criminals in jail? How do people feel about his radical position? You can be pro-choice, but do you support abortion up until the moment before birth? Because he does. Those are really radical positions. I'm not sure if it's penetrated.
And most Democrats don't.
And what?
Yeah. You know what, Sean? And most Democrats don't support abortion up until the moment of birth. And the fact is that John Fetterman is out of sync and out of the extreme with suburban voters, female voters. Let me just quickly run through it. On education, he's against school choice, charter schools, vouchers, educational freedom. He said it was, quote, an absolute necessity to lock these kids down in school. A little bit too long, pal. Actually, a lot too long. But he won't let them. He's a bigot and a racist who won't let kids of different backgrounds out of failing schools and let the money follow them. Suburban women very energized about education this time on abortion. Oz, as pro-life with the 3 exceptions, which is how most people feel. In the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, very few people are going to say they agree with John Fetterman, abortion anyone, anytime, anywhere. Hey, Sean, 9 years ago, you and I were on this program talking about Kermit Gosnell, that doctor in Philadelphia who was convicted not of medical malpractice, of murder. He was murdering little black babies after they were born. They were born alive. He was murdering them. And what has John Fetterman ever said about that? Does he agree with that? Is that a criminal he thinks should be let go? So on crime, education, inflation, education, the 4 top issues, John Fetterman is out of sync with Pennsylvania, including its women. And then on abortion and January 6th, since he wakes up every day and his calendar says January 6th, those issues are far down the line in terms of importance. But even on the issue of abortion, most pro-choice people across Pennsylvania do not agree with John Fetterman's abortion anyone, anytime, anywhere, sex selection, taxpayer-funded, 9th month, because you changed your mind at the last minute. This is not what people mean when they call themselves pro-choice. Yeah. So I want Pennsylvania to wake up and see that this man is very dangerous, and I think the choice is very clear. They've got to go for Dr. Oz, who's actually got Fetterman on the run.
All right, Kellyanne, thank you for that. One last point on this. He won't debate Dr. Oz. He's not going to debate him until the end of October. Scared. Voting is now happening in Pennsylvania. That is unfair to every voter in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, in the state of Pennsylvania. Kellyanne, thank you. All right, as John Fetterman was stumbling and stammering through his Pennsylvania rallies over the weekend, California Governor, Mr. Presidential wannabe Gavin Newsom, interviewed in Texas. He had some pretty choice words for, well, primetime Fox News programming. Me and my colleagues here at Fox, take a look.
These guys are ruthless on the other side. Ruthless on the other side. That primetime lineup on Fox, they're ruthless.
I know.
And so you've got these propaganda machines. They dominate the most important thing in American politics today, and that's the narrative. Facts become secondary to narrative. They dominate with illusion, and we are getting crushed. We are on the defense over and over and over again.
This guy wants to be president so bad, he can taste it. Okay, Gavin, you want some facts? Here are a few. Your California unemployment rate is 4.1%. That makes California the 38th state out of 50 states. A gallon of gas in your state of California, Gavin, it costs $5.80, by far the highest in the country. Hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people, they have fled your state since you took office. After well over 170 years of population growth, nobody wanted to leave until you got there. Well done, Gavin. And by the way, Fox News has been the #1 cable news channel, thanks to all of you watching, for over 80 straight weeks. So you're right about one thing. They're crushing the competition. And by the way, here now with reaction is the author of the brand new book, Come On, Man. The truth about Joe Biden's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad presidency. On sale now in bookstores all across the country, Amazon.com, Hannity.com. Joe Concha is with us. I forgot one other thing. If the state income tax in Florida, he likes to talk about Ron DeSantis a lot. State income tax in Florida is 0. The state income tax under Gavin Newsom is the highest in the country at 13.5%. I can't wait, hopefully after the election. I'd love to see that debate between the two of them. Gavin, by the way, we'll have you on this show if you want to debate, considering you're watching Fox all the time. Joe, you watch the media as closely as anybody. This guy wants to be president so bad. I'm even going to make a prediction. he likely will be the 2024 Democratic candidate?
That's not that far out there, I don't think, because Joe Biden's already indicated 60 Minutes just a week ago that he's strongly considering not running. He wouldn't have put that out there if he didn't. And then Gavin Newsom obviously would be seen as the younger, better choice, I suppose. But instead of Gavin Newsom, who would never have the guts to sit down with any anchor or host on this network, instead of attacking the primetime host here, perhaps he should do a better job in serving the people of California better than he is now. So here are some more facts. And Mr. Newsom's welcome to challenge any of these. This isn't narrative. These are facts. As you said, highest income tax rate in the country, highest poverty level in the country. Which governor, by the way, provides free health care to those who enter the country illegally, which may, I don't know, incentivize more people to come here without going through the legal process? Hint, his initials are GN. And oh, by the way, California's school system ranks 44th in the United States. 44th, Sean. On crime, they are the 36th safest state in the country. But a few Fox News hosts, yeah, that's the real threat. The bottom line is California is the most expensive state in the country to live in. It's profoundly unsafe. Its poverty rate is out of control. Its education system is in shambles. And that's your 2024 nominee? Yeah. Come on, man.
By the way, come on, man. Because in honor of the release of your new, I got my own copy. I'll hold it up for you. I think there you go. All right, we got two copies. Back and forth. You know, we have a lot. We have a whole montage. But I'll just play my favorite "Come On, Man" because there's a lot of "Come On, Mans." This though is my favorite "Come On, Man." Listen.
But please clarify specifically, have you taken a cognitive
No,
test?
I haven't taken a test. Why the hell would I take a test? Come on, man. That's like saying before you got in this program, if you take a test where you're taking cocaine or not, what do you think, huh?
Come on, man. Are you a junkie? That was the next line. Come on, man. This guy is so off. Now, you are the best, in my opinion, media analyst in the country, and you're unique because you're not part of the, blue checkmark, elitist media mob Twitter cult. And you stand on your own 2 feet, and you take a different narrative, and you're far more objective and more knowledgeable. I think you should have your own media show right here on Fox. I've been advocating for it for a while, as you know. Your colleagues in the media won't report on him. They're not reporting on the radicalism of these candidates in this election. How dangerous is that to this great republic?
Well, I know they won't write about him in terms of writing books about him, because if you look at the October literary landscape, Sean, there's something like 15 books coming out on a president. And it's not the president currently in office in Joe Biden. It's the guy who was in office about 21 months ago in Donald Trump. So, yeah, this president is not getting the scrutiny that he should get in these situations. And look, I think the biggest takeaway for readers in this book, Sean, is that Joe Biden has always been a left-wing ideologue. He always believed that big government is the answer and not the problem. And now we see a president with Biden, not a senator anymore. Now he has real power, showing that advocacy over and over again. Because you don't spend trillions of dollars during a recession and insist it's going to lower inflation unless you believe in big government. But most importantly, Sean, I'll end it here. Buy this book just for the chapter on Corn Pop alone. Yes, a full chapter on the late great Pop, and it's glorious. So that's why you want to buy this book, for the Corn Pop. Believe me.
The truth, come on, man, the truth about Joe Biden's terrible, horrible, no good, very bad presidency. By the way, it's even worse than that. Joe, good luck with the book. Amazon.com, Hannity.com, bookstores everywhere. All right, now, my interview with President Trump last week, it attracted a lot of attention, especially over our discussion of the president's power to declassify materials from their time in office. As usual, the left wasted no time attacking the president for saying that he had the authority as president to declassify the documents, but they conveniently forgot about a 2012 ruling from an Obama-appointed judge named Amy Berman Jackson, the same judge who presided over, Roger Stone's case, and Paul Manafort's case, in which she ruled in this ruling that the ability to segregate personal records from presidential records is at the sole discretion of the president during his term. And by the way, there's no set standard on how to do it. Here with reaction, Fox News legal analyst Greg Jarrett and author of the new book, The Price of Principle, Alan Dershowitz. Professor, let me start with you. Congratulations on the book. I know you're familiar with the case. Under the statutory scheme established by the Presidential Records Act, the decision to segregate personal materials from presidential materials is made by the president during the president's term in his sole discretion. And then they go on to say, talking about the National Archives, can't be reviewed by a court. If the archives wants to challenge a decision, that it is a civil procedure, no criminal penalty. And on the classification issue, both President George W. Bush, Barack Obama signed executive orders which remain in force to this day, declaring the presidents have sweeping authority to declassify and not have to follow any mandatory declassification procedure. Do you agree with that decision and that analysis, sir?
Not only do I agree with it, but even if it was 100% wrong, there could still not be any criminal charges, criminal investigation, criminal prosecution. This is one of the most complex and disputed areas of law. And in order to be convicted of a crime, you have to prove specific intent. How do you prove specific intent when even the Democrats can't agree what the statutes provide? They can't agree who has the power to declassify. They can't agree what the role of the archives are. When you have disagreement, the one thing that's clear, and every liberal and civil libertarian should support me and you on this, you cannot have criminal charges without the kind of certainty that's lacking in this area. Now, can they bring a civil suit? Can they try to get the material? All right, that's up for dispute. Criminal charges, not up for dispute.
You know, this case was over tapes involving Bill Clinton's an interview that he had done, Greg. George W. Bush's White House, there was a report in Newsweek had lost 22 million emails. The Obama administration settled lawsuits over missing Bush White House emails, and letters reveal that Obama and his foundation kept classified documents abandoned in a furniture warehouse. And, of course, we know about Hillary Clinton's top-secret classified emails that James Comey identified more than they found with Donald Trump after the raid, and that does not include the 33,000 deleted emails with BleachBit, the devices that were destroyed with hammers, and the SIM cards that were removed. We don't know what was on all of that. So to me, this seems like a dual system of justice and weaponization of the DOJ. Am I wrong?
Nobody raided Obama's unsecured open warehouse where he kept classified documents. And the case, as you point out, the very important case of Bill Clinton was litigated in court, and the judge said it's up to Bill Clinton, the ex-president, to decide what is presidential material and what is not, including classified documents. He can keep them if he wants. I'll read it here. The judge said the National Archives does not have the authority to designate materials as presidential records. It lacks any right, duty, or means to seize control of them. The Department of Justice in that case argued that it's entirely up to an ex-president. He can keep any records he wants, including declassified material. And the president has unfettered authority to declassified materials. There are no rules or laws or regulations. It's completely up to him. Look, I've argued for 7 long weeks since the raid that this was a lawless action by Merrick Garland's Department of Justice and Christopher Wray's FBI. And as the court pointed out, it is a civil enforcement proceeding under the meaning of the Presidential Records Act. It is not a criminal action. So why did Merrick Garland and Christopher Wray raid Trump's Mar-a-Lago home? Because his last name is Trump. If it were Obama or Clinton, it would be perfectly fine. So if Merrick Garland is foolish enough to bring a criminal indictment against Donald Trump, I look forward to seeing him twist himself into a pretzel trying to explain his own hypocrisy.
All right, thank you both. Straight ahead, a new report. Alec Baldwin may face criminal charges for his role in the fatal shooting on the set of Rust, Pam Bondi, and Clay Travis. Straight ahead. All right, breaking developments tonight in the Alec Baldwin saga. Prosecutors are now indicating they may, in fact, face charges in his case for his role in the fatal shooting of cinematographer Helena Hutchins on the set of the movie Rust. Now, this all comes despite his past denial of any wrongdoing, like he told ABC News he didn't pull the trigger. Here with reaction, Outkick founder Clay Travis and former Florida Attorney General Pam Bondi. Pam, interestingly, the DA is requesting an additional $635,000. 4 separate trials are possible, jury trials, and one of the didn't name the defendants, but said one of the possible defendants would possibly be Alec Baldwin. Sounds like he's getting indicted.
It does. It does. It sounds pretty bad for him, Sean. And it's not unusual for a DA to request more funds in a small county like that, especially if she said she may have to try 4 separate cases. What was telling in what she said was she wanted to hire experts in safety protocol on sets. Now, it's been reported that there have been numerous complaints about the safety procedures on the set of that movie, which he produced, he starred in. She also said she wanted to hire experts in firearms. And as you said earlier, Alec Baldwin said that he didn't touch the gun trigger, it just went off. And it's so easy, I've done it many times with ballistics experts, to prove whether or not someone actually pulled a trigger on a gun. So even if he was playing around, pointed it, fired it, knowing all of those things, he could potentially be charged with a second-degree murder, reckless disregard for human life, whether or not he intentionally tried to hurt someone. And, you know, the bottom line, even basic, he could be charged with perjury because I think he's given multiple statements, reports have said, one to the law enforcement officers the day it happened. So I think he's in a world of trouble.
An ominous posting on Instagram, Clay. Lots of changes coming, but my family has kept me alive. They are my reason for living, and his wife as well. Sounds to me like he is expecting to be indicted.
Yeah, it does. And, Sean, I remember coming on, I believe, with Leo on the night that he did that ill-advised, I think Pam would certainly agree, and any lawyer out there probably would as well, public statement to tell his side of the story and try to get out ahead of this thing. And to your point, now he has to make sure that all of his statements that he has made dovetail. And it sounds like there may be some inconsistencies in those statements that are now out there for him to be questioned about. I'd also add on to this, Sean, how many people would this potentially be who are the most ardent Donald Trump critics in the world telling us, oh, Donald Trump's going to face all these felony charges, that keep going down with their own felony charges on far more serious related incidents than anything that has happened to Donald Trump. It just seems like the more aggressive you have been in saying that Trump is Hitler, the worst human being on the planet, the more karma seems to swing around and end up with you in the actual legal system, facing far more jeopardy than President Trump does.
This will get a lot of national attention, that's for sure. Pam, thank you. Clay Travis, thank you. All right, we have more Hannity coming up right after this. All right, unfortunately, that is all the time we have left this evening. As always, thank you for being with us, and thank you for making this show possible. We hope you'll set your DVR so you never, ever miss an episode of Hannity. And in the meantime, you can let not your heart be troubled, because Laura Ingraham and the Ingraham Angle is next, and Laura's got a killer show tonight. Hi, happy Monday.
Okay, I've missed you for the last few days. You've been, you know, Mar-a-Lago. I know you were in that crawl space where some of the documents where I saw that video. Oh, was I supposed to say that?
How did you know? I was in the crawl space with the documents. I'm in trouble now.
I apologize. It's good that they had you there to crack the safe finally. They finally got that safe open.
By the way, I did hear, rumor has it, source has it, there was nothing in the safe.
Yeah,
I wonder if they'd buy you a new one.
I was going to make a joke, but someone would have gotten mad at me for that, you know, famous open safe. I'm not going to make the joke.
We all know who you're talking about. You know what I love about Geraldo? He's got a great sense of humor. One of the most lovable guys in the world, even though he's wrong sometimes.
And he does, and he never ages. He looks the same as he looked 25 years ago, so that's why I like him. Hannity, awesome show. I'll try to pick it up.
I was on his daytime program once years ago.
You were?